Welcome, everybody, to Bible Bites. I'm Pastor Dan, and we are reading through the Bible one small bite at a time. We're in Matthew 24. In our previous video, if you watch that, Jesus' disciples had just asked him a question about when the temple would be destroyed, when the end of the world will come, and when the fulfillment of all the prophecies about the Messiah will occur. So when will the Messiah truly fulfill God's full purpose and plan? Jesus has given them a broad overview, and he's saying, listen, many are going to come to deceive, saying there's the Messiah. He says, don't believe them and that. He says there's going to be all kinds of things happen in this world, like wars, rumors of wars, famines, all kinds of natural disasters. That is not the sign of the end times, right? That's not the sign that the Messiah is about to come. Verse 9. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Jesus is speaking to his apostles here. This would definitely happen to them. It would happen to others as well, and we see this in the early church, even Gentile believers. However, the context here is very much a Jewish one. Jesus is speaking to Jewish people, right? The apostles, these disciples, they are Jewish. So there is a very real Jewish context that we have to understand that's taking place here. This whole thing can apply to some degree to the church throughout the age, to Gentile believers, but the context is very much a Jewish one here. So we need to keep that in mind. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. Many false prophets will arise and lead many astray, because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. John wrote the book of Revelation in about 80, 90. And in that, there is some words of Jesus to seven churches that existed in that day, seven local churches. And Jesus tells them and warns them, rebukes them for many of these same things. Some of them for tolerating false prophets and being led astray, for immorality, this lawlessness. He rebukes them for their forsaking their first love, for their love growing cold. All these things were being fulfilled. Uh, so what Jesus is saying now, they were being fulfilled, and Jesus was really rebuking, warning, trying to exhort his church in Revelation 2. That's 80, 90. And Jesus, of course, in the Revelation keeps urging them, endure to the end, persevere in faith. 14, in this gospel, the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. The end will come. So, as a broad overview, we can see that the end, a good sign of the end, is that the gospel of Jesus Christ, this testimony of Jesus Christ, will be preached to all nations, all tribes, all tongues, all people groups. It's going to go out to all the world. Verse 15. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Okay, you have to look at the prophetic book of Daniel, which is in the Old Testament, which is in the Old Testament. You can read that. And this was prophesied this would happen, this abomination of desolation. I believe this very much is referring to AD 70 when the temple was destroyed, completely destroyed by Rome. This also marked a real turning point for Jewish people because no longer would they have self-rule in Rome, which they had always enjoyed some self-rule, but no longer. Would that be the case? So keep that in mind. This was a real turning point for the Jewish people, but Jewish believers, especially and or as well. I want to say especially, but as well. Let the one who is I'm sorry, verse 16. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is on the housetop not go down to take what is in his house, and let the one who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas, for women who are pregnant and for those who are nursing infants in those days, pray that your flight may not be in winter and on the Sabbath. So there's a real tribulation that is occurring. Now, tribulation is suffering or distress, right? That results from persecution. And we can see that the Jewish people have been, I think, most definitely the most persecuted peoples in history. For then there would be great tribulation, such as not been from the beginning of the world until now, no, and never will be. I think to some degree the Jews have seen a great persecution throughout all history, but from this 80 70 onward, just much persecution. And in fact, they really did not exist as a nation for a very long time. I think until 1960s, I believe it was, when they became a nation. Again, don't quote me on the date, but I'm just trying to remember my history a little bit. So, and it says then 22, and if those days had not been cut short, no human would be saved, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Now, the elect does here, I believe, refer to Jewish believers, perhaps uh, all the whole Jewish people, because they are still the elect of God, and that they were chosen by God. Now, some of them will not turn to Christ, will not believe in Him, will not walk in God's ways of purpose. Uh, but that doesn't mean that God does not have some plan or uh, some purpose for the nation, I guess, of Israel as they exist as an ethnicity. I don't fully understand what God's going to do there, but they were a people that He called and He had chosen, so He may still have a purpose and a plan for them as an ethnicity, as a people who are a Jewish people, right? But certainly we understand that the elect refers really to all believers, the whole church, anyone who believes in Jesus Christ. Okay, but again, the context, we got to remember this context here. Then, okay, so do I read verse 22? He says, yeah, we did. Verse 23, then if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there he is, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. And so those that are established in Christ even can be led astray. He's really warning them about what he did previously. That there's going to be a lot of deceit, a lot of false peoples said they're gonna come and say, "Look, I'm the Messiah," and we see this in Middle Eastern. I think even in the Muslim community with Muhammad, who really is a Messiah figure, but he's not the Christ. He's not the Messiah, and this is warning us of such peoples who will say that they are. See, I've told you beforehand, Jesus says. I'm telling you right now, so you know it's coming. So if they say to you, look, he is in the wilderness, do not go out. If they say, look, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. In other words, the sign that Jesus is returning, that the Messiah is going to return again, is going to be very obvious, right? Because we can all, when lightning occurs in the sky, right, it lights up the whole sky. We all see that. And so it's going to be obvious when Jesus returns. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. That's referring to, man, a lot of deceit, a lot of lies, a lot of things that it's going to tickle people's ears, and they're going to gather around those things which are dead. They're not truth. There's no life in them. I believe that's what it's saying. I know a lot here, but we needed to cover it quickly, and hopefully this helps in our clarity and understanding. Until next time, be blessed.